The drunken Adam Sweet's eyes were slightly confused. His lips were slightly moist, and his expression was a little sluggish. He stared at me intently, not knowing whether it was the wind or the alcohol, and his eyes were slightly red. The first time I saw him standing in front of me like this, I was a little good. I couldn't help but stand on tiptoe, and hold his face and drop a kiss, my lips touching the softness and sucking gently. When he let go, he looked at the light and saw that his lips were still slightly red, and thin beads of sweat wet the broken hair on his forehead. Originally, he didn't react, but looked at me stunned, and between the eyes, a trace of grievance flashed in his eyes, and I was caught off guard by him in his arms. He leaned on my shoulder with his eyes closed, and his voice was a little hoarse, and he whispered, "And Peggy, I was waiting." When I saw Adam Sweet again, it was just time for sunset in the alley. When I returned to my hometown, I took a walk downstairs with my little corgi in my arms. Just as I was about to take it to a bench under the street lamp not far away, little corgi jumped out of my arms with an excited face. "Hey, Apple!" I shouted from behind. I saw Adam Sweet plopping and running forward on his short legs, holding a man's trouser legs, and scurrying around. As soon as I raised my eyes, the person in front of me was very familiar. The sunset glow shone a little dimly behind him, and the messy hair stirred his eyebrows, and the unstoppable youthful aura attracted me deeply. He looked down at the apples on the ground, and then at me, with a smile in his originally slightly deep eyes. "Adam Sweet." I was stunned for a long time. He has changed a lot. There is more hardness between his eyebrows and eyes, and his clothes still vaguely reveal the youthful feeling of the year. It's strange that people, who haven't seen each other for a long time always feel strange when they meet again. Adam Sweet and I are neighbors, but we haven't seen each other in years. After graduating from high school, his parents also moved their home to the same city as his university. Actually, I can't say how many years, to be exact. 2 years, not a long time, but for me, it seems like I don't know how long it has been. I was a little embarrassed to see him like this, and I distanced myself from him just when I was at a loss. "Adam Sweet, what are you messing up there below? Come up and eat." A puppy that thought he was calling his name, Adam Sweet, spun around on the ground and snorted. "Oh, and Peggy, you're there too. I've grown into a big girl. I'm getting more and more beautiful. My aunt has only moved back in the past few days, but I miss you." Probably spotting me behind Adam Sweet, she clapped her hands excitedly and hurriedly stepped forward to pull my hand. It was Adam Sweet's mom who spoke, and Mrs. Sweet's family and my family were friendly with each other, and we often got together for dinner. I raised my head, eyebrows slightly raised. "Hello, Auntie." She blinked at me and said, "And Peggy didn't eat, did she? Let's eat at our house." Although I had already eaten at home, and seeing that she was very enthusiastic, I had to quickly agree to come down with a full stomach. I don't know when Apple has long since stopped making trouble, and is still enjoying Adam Sweet's arms. I felt the urge to run away. Look at the hill in front of you with delicacies such as chicken thighs, shrimp, ribs, vegetables, and more. I can't wait for this moment to have superpowers. That's right, it's a superpower that can eat a mountain. Mrs. Sweet has been sharing all sorts of things since I came in. I listened patiently. "And Peggy, is Auntie's food unappetizing?" No, Auntie is a good cook." I crammed food into my mouth as a gesture of expression. The aunt untied her apron and looked excited. "Then eat more. I see you haven't moved much." Adam Sweet understands my temperament, but he is laughing at the other side, and I exhale a little helplessly. The next blow was a fatal blow. "Adam Sweet, remember when you and Peggy were in high school? They had a fight, they didn't win, and they accidentally got slapped by someone." Then Mrs. Sweet looked at me and smiled. "And Peggy, I later learned that Adam Sweet was letting you, afraid that you would sulk alone." I was stunned, my fingers curling and almost choking. When I think of the original scene, although it is very funny, from the bottom of my heart, I don't really want to remember the time with him in high school, because when I think about it, it seems that there are always regrets for me. I vaguely remember the day I beat Adam Sweet to a blue nose and swollen face. I was in a good mood, and ate 3 buckets of ice cream in one go. As a result, my aunt came that night, and I couldn't straighten my back when I went to school the next day. because it was getting closer and closer to the joint entrance examination, and I didn't want to ask for leave to delay the class. Adam Sweet dropped me off at the door of the classroom and fetched me hot water to keep my baby warm throughout the day. Thinking of this, I was stunned for a long time. I couldn't speak for a while. Mom, don't say it. Adam Sweet spoke. He picked up the apple from the ground and dragged me out, leaving my lonely half of the hill behind. This kid must be embarrassed. Mrs. Sweet pursed her lips, then smiled again. The sky was dark pink, and there was a breeze outside. Very comfortable weather. Don't thank me. He didn't look at me when he said this, but lowered his head and stroked the dog's head with the apple. I didn't want to thank you. I gently wrenched his hand away. He was visibly stunned. Adam Sweet is so sticky to you. It hasn't been so sticky to me. I began to change the subject, which was inevitably a bit far-fetched. Really? Adam Sweet looked at me and smiled, unable to fathom his emotions, and handed me the apple. Probably Adam Sweet. It's kind of a fate with me. Adam Sweet scratched its head and looked up at me meaningfully. I know. He's talking by name. Little Corgi had only recently arrived at our house, and it was just in time for the new year, so I named it Apple. I said lightly, pretending not to care. That's a good and convincing reason. When I got home, I hurriedly got my charged phone in my hand, and my best friend Hulda Byron made several missed calls to me. And Peggy, man, you said you wanted to show me your dog. I looked out the window, and before I knew it, the dim street lights were on, and Adam Sweet's tall figure was walking back. I picked up the camera at the table. The man in the camera turned his head to look at the camera, and then his gaze moved forward, falling straight on me, leaving an unpredictable smile. My heart skipped half a beat, and the faded memories flooded up, and I hurriedly closed the curtains. I still seem to like Adam Sweet. I can't remember the beginning, but I know it never seemed to end. I can't remember the beginning, but I like him when it seems to be when countless moments come together. Because my parents were busy with work, I was brought up by my grandparents when I was a child, and the time spent with my parents could be counted on one finger. After a long time, it is normal for sensitivity, low self-esteem, and lack of courage to gradually emerge in the bottom of my heart. It wasn't until later, when my parents had stable jobs, that I lived with them, and started to know Adam Sweet. That's when Adam Sweet became my brother next door. At first, when my parents dragged me to their house for dinner, I was reluctant to do so, but people have to adapt to the environment. The parents on both sides had nothing to say, and I could only silently bow my head and eat the white rice in the bowl, very restrained. But he quietly glanced at Adam Sweet many times, and the blurred outline flashed in his mind. Plopping. I don't understand. It's embarrassment, or heartbeat, so much so that when it comes to my first impression of Adam Sweet, I can hardly describe it, because I don't even dare to look up at him. I remember when I first entered high school, because I was in the same school, my mother said that it was the neighbor's brother, and asked him to take care of me, so he often goes to and from school with me, and he prepares a lot of necessities for me before military training. After a long time, his friends would often push him when they saw me, and he would just ask me some kind words about whether I was suitable for school and what I needed help with. I'm a slow heater. I'm afraid I'll cause him inconvenience, and I've never wanted to owe much to others. As usual, after the evening self-study, he waited for me to go home together. Along the way, I felt awkward. We almost had nothing to say. When we arrived at the intersection, I said to him word by word, "Thank you very much for taking care of me, but it will be very troublesome for you not to take care of me because of my mother's words in the future." Before the words fell, the other party replied in a somewhat impatient tone, "Nope," I volunteered, "but I don't want to owe anyone too much. I'm no one else." He seemed annoyed. "Hello, and Peggy, I haven't been officially introduced yet. My name is Adam Sweet, and I'm glad to be friends with you." He turned his head to look at me and said slowly, with the light on my back. The wind caressed his broken hair, and I was distracted. In the end, he hurried into the house on the grounds that it was too cold. Only I know how it could be cold. The autumn breeze is obviously warm. One of the most vivid memories is that after the first joint entrance examination, my grades were very unsatisfactory, and I was depressed and did not talk to anyone all day. On the bus, I couldn't hold back my tears. Adam Sweet sat beside him. He didn't ask anything. He didn't say anything. He handed me a pair of headphones, with an unforgettable lyric, "You are by your side, slowly healing me, the cycle of the seasons, still so." Later, I got acquainted with him thoroughly, and I would often go to him with my science papers for tutoring, and I would play tricks with him when I was angry. I always catch a cold when the seasons change, and my parents are not at home that time, so I have to come back very late. Adam Sweet bought a bunch of cold medicine, and came to my house. He often rushes over with the wet hair on his forehead, and there is a faint fragrance of shower gel on his body. Boil water, soak medicine, and when it's not hot, I'll always watch me drink it before leaving. Through the dark night, there was a sound of fireworks not far away, and it happened that the window was opened by Adam Sweet for ventilation, and this angle was just enough to see the fireworks outside blooming in the air. I didn't expect someone to set off fireworks now. It's so beautiful. Well, if you like it. The young man smiled and gently stroked the corners of his clothes, and his white knuckles were lined so beautifully under the black down jacket. I later learned that the fireworks were specially prepared by him. It was only later that I learned that he didn't watch the fireworks that night, but watched me for a long time. He's only a little older than me, but he's taught me a lot, and he's there when I need him. When Adam Sweet was about to take the college entrance examination, I didn't bother him, except for going to and from school. I began to go to him less. I thought, only a bright future can be worthy of such an excellent him. I also started to study hard, and because of this, I was able to match him well. On the day of the college entrance examination, it was a rainy day, and I held an umbrella and said to him, "The college entrance examination went well. You will definitely be able to." There were a lot of people who took the test that day. I can't remember exactly, but I know how dazzling he was running into the crowd in a white shirt. During the coming of age ceremony, he also wore a white shirt to shuttle through the crowd. His eyes flashed from time to time. I pulled my friend to watch him quietly from a distance, and wanted to take a photo with him, but suddenly lost his courage. I'm such a coward. I've never changed. I went home alone that day, and I couldn't help but choke up when I spoke. Heard talking to Mom and Mrs. Sweet in the bedroom. Adam Sweet, this kid is really nice. Hey, if you need anything after you move away, just come to us. You're welcome. We're all family. As if my heart had stopped, I slammed the door shut, and the laughter and conversation in the living room grew quieter and quieter until it was drowned out. The cell phone rings on the desk in the room, breaking the silence of the room. I hesitated for a long time, and picked it up just as the bell was about to stop. "I want to meet you." As soon as the phone was connected, his voice was a little low and hoarse, as if he was eager, and the young man's gasp on the other end was particularly clear in his ears. My fingertips turned slightly white from the exertion of my phone. "And Peggy, how about meeting?" Adam Sweet whispered, unable to fathom the emotion. It was a cloudy day. There was no beautiful sunset, and there was no attractive scenery, and I walked this road countless times, which was the only time I could not forget. Adam Sweet, he told me about his brilliance, and his eyes were sparkling as he spoke. Yes, the brilliance that belongs only to Adam Sweet will only shine on him forever. There was always an inexplicable emotion that annoyed me, and I shook my head, trying not to think that I should be happy for him. He said a lot along the way, and I happily echoed it, and restrained the emotions in my heart. Adam Sweet said these words with a big smile and a relaxed face, and told me as if I were my own sister. I was in a bit of a trance. Maybe Adam Sweet had always treated me like a sister a few years younger, as if I had quietly crossed the line. "I'm going to leave in a while. You have to take good care of yourself at school. Don't bear to talk about grievances. Always wipe your tears secretly. Give me less ice during the menstrual period. And, no matter when, bravery is very important for every girl. If there is a question you can ask me on your phone. Don't be discouraged. And Peggy, you are a very good." I was a little nervous when I heard these words, and the urge to cry became stronger, so much so that I couldn't hear what he said later. I ran home as hard as I could flee. After that, I never took the initiative to contact him, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have the courage. Many times after that, when I was tired of studying, I liked to stare at the empty balcony of his room in a daze. maybe in many, many moments. These memories, they all condensed into a dot, intertwined in my heart, and the brilliance of youth made my heart burn. I received Adam Sweet's note in the early afternoon of the day. As the apple burst into the room, it jumped and played at my feet, biting a small plastic ball in its mouth. The surface of the globule is somewhat damaged, and a small section of white faintly leaks out. I have a little anticipation in my heart. I reached out and brushed Adam Sweet's hair, and pulled the white out of the ball. A line of beautiful and eye-catching handwriting comes to mind. Look out the window. I opened the window carefully, and I was greeted by a man in a thin black sweatshirt, half leaning against a tree. The black set off his complexion even whiter, and he looked up with a smile, as if it had been foreshadowed, and the pear vortex at the corner of his mouth made people sink. Adam Sweet mentions, "There's a party on the weekend. You can come with me." Seeing that I hesitated, as if he was afraid that I would refuse, he hurriedly added, "It's at Jackson's house, and there are still many acquaintances." I originally thought that they were all unfamiliar people, but I was afraid of being a little embarrassed, so I just wanted to excuse myself. But when I heard him say this, those familiar faces around him inadvertently appeared in my mind. I used to follow Adam Sweet, and over time, I got acquainted. Okay. Thinking of this, I readily agreed. Huldah Byron personally picked out a light blue long-sleeve dress for me, which set off the skin tone fair, and the curvature of the neckline was just right. Looming, she couldn't help but give me a thumbs up as she watched me put on this dress. The color of blue roses always gives people a clean beauty. You can only describe your face and perfect body in 2 words. I was a little confused, and I couldn't help but laugh at her serious appearance. Looking at the full-length mirror, I have to admit that Huldah Byron's vision is really good. Huldah Byron, please review as well. Huldah Byron instantly came to her senses and blew softly into my ear. Pure desire. I was startled by her, and before I could react, she touched me again, and said with a hippie smile, "Little girl Tilda, accompany Master Ben at night. I will ensure that you are satisfied." No. Hey, you're going to keep Adam Sweet? I don't dare take it. Huldah Byron, don't talk nonsense. I was teased by her, and I was embarrassed to go with Adam Sweet on the day of the party. Find a good reason to go with Huldah Byron. On the day of the party, Huldah Byron went out of her way to pick out a luxury car in her garage, claiming that it would fit today's outfit. I suddenly sighed in my heart. It's good to have a rich girlfriend. She drove into the villa and looked around. Baby, I thought this Jackson's family was very big, but I didn't expect it to be so big. It's bigger than my house. I nodded hurriedly, also shocked. Well, it seems that there is nothing wrong with the choice of letting him treat him often in the past. There is a large swimming pool outside the villa, and there are dazzling small lights around the pool railing, and many people who have arrived are talking and laughing, and the atmosphere is really romantic. A wide variety of desserts and wines are served on the long table. The car stopped not far away, and many people looked over and let out a soft exclamation. I got out of the car, and the wind outside blew gently on the hem of my skirt, which was a little itchy. Looking over, I swept Adam Sweet at a glance. He stood at the long table, his dark blue shirt and black tie. He held a wine glass, and his beautiful leather bag looked a little more ascetic against the background of this dress. My heart was beating and beating uncontrollably. I realized that the dress I was wearing today matched his shirt perfectly. It is like the petals of a blue rose covering the deep blue of the bottomless sea. Adam Sweet looked over this direction, and when he saw me, his eyes flashed, and then he looked away. Jackson was dressed in a floral shirt, and was lying on a lounger in front of the pool with his legs on his legs, and he looked like a playboy. But he's also a playboy in the truest sense of the word. And Jackson changes girlfriends as quickly as he changes clothes. In the words of Huldah Byron, he has never had a heart for these women, and if you are serious, you will lose. Even so, there are many women who come to him. After all, he is not bad looking. The key is more gold. Well, you're finally here. Jackson saw us hurrying this way. Do you know how boring I am? Really? No. Let your eldest young master wait for a long time. I couldn't help but smile. Adam Sweet's voice sounded behind him. Boring. I'll leave you alone before I turn around and grab a glass of wine. Huldah Byron punched Jackson and chimed in. That's it. I think you're just underwhelmed. Jackson lowered his eyes and instantly lowered his head to admit his mistake. Don't Grandma, I bought you the bracelet last time you asked for it. Where? It's a limited edition. Take me to see it. It's disrespectful to slow down for a second. Hulda Byron couldn't wait to pull Jackson away, not forgetting to look back at me. Of course I received it, and I was a little weak-hearted. Would you like to have some dessert? I've seen it. There's a lot you like. We found a place to sit, and this view happened to see the layout of the whole villa dinner, which was very lively. Unhurriedly, he handed me a tray, just the right size, filled with a variety of different styles of desserts. I reached out and took a small piece of cake, a little sad, thought for a moment and said, actually, it's good to have a brother like you. Adam Sweet paused, smiled softly, turned his head, and didn't answer. Then there was silence, and I had a vague sense that Adam Sweet was not in a good mood. The answer from the bottom of my heart is becoming clearer and clearer. Adam Sweet. What a coincidence. A sweet female voice broke the silence. I'm also going to sit here and eat a snack. Take a snack. And when I turned around, I saw someone coming here first. And when I got closer, it turned out to be you. Adam Sweet raised his eyes and said lightly, well, long time no see. The woman is tall, with big waves, and a long skirt, bright and moving. I thought we wouldn't have a chance to meet again after graduation, but I didn't. Who is this? It was as if she had finally spotted me, and she looked at me shallowly, a little unclear. As I munched on my snacks, I remembered when I went to the 3rd floor of high school to find Adam Sweet, and I saw her, holding a book and talking to him. Once in a while at dinner with Adam Sweet, she would sit next to him, and ask him about his studies, but she couldn't interject. I looked sullen. Adam Sweet noticed it, and I barely saw her anymore. If memory serves, her name is Mia. Hello, I'm in Peggy. Don't you remember me? I brushed the shredded hair around my ear. I felt a little uncomfortable, but I didn't show it, and smiled politely at her. Mia didn't look surprised, as if she had expected it. A hint of disdain flashed across her face, but she immediately covered it up. But I still caught it. She said, it turned out to be a junior school girl. I haven't seen you for a long time, so don't call me senior sister now. Call me Sister Mia. But I'm so beautiful to Adam Sweet. To have such a sensible and beautiful sister as you. Adam Sweet frowned, unable to see the emotion clearly, and said in a somewhat cold tone, he's not my sister. When Mia came, she felt that the atmosphere between the two was wrong, and when she heard this, she thought we were having a conflict, and she was suddenly a little excited. Before she could enjoy the excitement, Adam Sweet's next words made Mia a little confused. She has always stood in the position of a girlfriend in my heart. Not only Mia, but I was also a little panicked. However, before leaving, I leaned into Mia's ear and whispered, sister, the lipstick number is very suitable for your temperament, but it seems to like my sister's teeth very much. Looking back, she still has confidence. Her face is pale. Adam Sweet walked in front of me and remained silent. He seemed a little angry. My heart was pounding. If you slow down, I won't be able to keep up. You just said, I said, tugging at the corner of his coat and taking the initiative. Before he could finish speaking, he interrupted his voice with some urgency, and Peggy, I never wanted to be your brother. He looked down at me, his eyes unwavering, and I could feel his breathing struggling. I know he wants to wait for my answer. I like you. That's my answer. My heart was pounding. It took me a lot of courage to have my heart at the age of 16, being spoken at this moment. Adam Sweet, I've always liked you. I don't want to be your sister either. I can't be your girlfriend. After saying that, he was stunned for a long time, and I was a little overwhelmed by his staring. Took the initiative to put his arms around his waist, and smelled the faint laundry detergent, and the unique fragrance that only belonged to him. I was relieved, and my panic dissipated. Now from the bottom of my heart, I know that he likes me too, because he answered me with a kiss. The hot and wet kiss fell on his lips, as if he had found an outlet point, and he kissed me gently, and then slowly became ferocious. Kissing, get into the gods, like waves crashing on the beach, and like clouds floating slowly in the sky. Adam Sweet drank a lot of alcohol and seemed to be a little drunk. After the party, Adam Sweet and I walked with our fingers interlocked. It was getting late, and there was almost no one on the road. Drunk Adam Sweet's eyes were slightly misty, his lips were moist, and his expression was a little glazed. and he looked at me intently. I don't know if it was the wind blowing or the alcohol. His eyes were slightly red. The first time I saw him standing in front of me like this, I was a little good. I couldn't help but stand on tiptoe, and hold his face and drop a kiss, my lips touching the softness and sucking gently. When he let go, he looked at the light and saw that his lips were still slightly red, and thin beads of sweat wet the broken hair on his forehead. Originally, he didn't react, but looked at me stunned, and between the eyes, a trace of grievance flashed in his eyes, and I was caught off guard by him in his arms. He leaned on my shoulder with his eyes closed, and his voice was a little hoarse, but it was well low. And Peggy, I was waiting. When you're brave. Adam Sweet's Perspective. July the 23rd. A sister came to the neighbor's house, and it seemed to be an aunt's daughter. She came to our house for the first time. It seems to be a little shy, and his face is about to be buried in the bowl, and the little one is quite cute. She didn't seem to notice me, and she didn't look at me several times when I looked over. Isn't it that I'm not very close? Usually friends say I'm too cold. No, I have to be gentle in the future. September the 1st. Today my aunt asked me to send her to school, and she has a bear pendant on her school bag, and I see that many girls in the school like to hang this, but I think she's like more special and cute. September the 3rd. Today is the second day of her military training, and I am worried that she is a little overwhelmed. So I will go to the playground to see her situation after class. I prepared a lot of necessities for her and told her to take good care of herself. Jackson said I was a little special to her, and I told him I was just helping. October the 15th. She doesn't seem to be in a good mood these days, and she suddenly pulls me to talk a lot after school, and this is the first time I've seen her talk to me so much. What she said about bothering me, I didn't think about it at all, and I didn't find it troublesome at all. I think I must have not introduced myself to her seriously, but she ran away after I said that, and she said it was cold outside. In the evening, I learned how to knit a scarf with my mother. Bring it to her tomorrow. November the 6th. Saw her crying today, and I didn't speak. She's a little slow to get hot, but I just want to get close to her. I listened to music with her for a long time, but in the end, we sat down. Well, actually, it's quite cute when she cries. I really want to pinch her face. November the 8th. This weekend, she came to me with a physics paper. Well, as she said, it's a bit miserable. Haha, she didn't allow me to say it. Fierce, like a fried rabbit. November the 9th. I don't pay attention to the menstrual period when it's coming, and I still eat so much ice. Don't mess with her casually in the future. On November the 13th, the weather was getting colder. I saw her, wearing a scarf I knitted. Kind of happy. November the 30th. After taking a shower and hearing her say she had a cold, I bought a bunch of cold medicine and went to her. I felt depressed when I had a cold, so I bought a box of fireworks. Secretly asked Jackson to ask them, and the fireworks were very successful, and she liked it very much. The light in her eyes flashed and sparkled, and her long eyelashes were exceptionally beautiful, and I loved it too. January the 21st. Happy New Year, and Peggy, hope you're always happy. February the 4th. It's a change of season, the beginning of spring. She didn't have a cold. February the 29th. She's serious about learning, and so am I. Although there is less time to find each other, it is like what she said, we're all glowing. May the 6th. Today, Lixia, she took good care of herself and didn't get sick. June the 7th. It's raining. She said to me, come on for the college entrance examination. You can definitely do it. Her words always filled me with confidence. Well, I can. June the 29th. I've been looking for her for a long time today, but I haven't found her. Suddenly I wanted to see her. I wanted to tell her that I liked her. When I talked to her, I was so uncomfortable. I was panicked. I hesitated for a long time. I didn't want to bring bad emotions to her, and I was afraid that she would cry. I said it easily, but she still seemed to cry. It's all my fault. A new sentence was written on the last page of the yellow diary. The end of the story. We're in this together. Extra. The sun is about to set. Adam Sweet was working in the study, and I was a little idle, so I sat on a chaise longue in the garden and watched the sunset. He called me out of the blue and told me to go find him. I thought there was something urgent, But as soon as I opened the door, he hugged me on the lap and kissed me. I straddled his lap, my nightdress skirt up above my knees, and my ladger was a little more slouchy on him. But now, it's more like seducing me. What are you doing? I was a little confused, and pushed him hard. Baby, he called out to me softly, and the kiss fell again. Adam sweet, let go of me. His lips were kissed by him, and I wanted to get off him quickly, but I was grabbed by the waist. I couldn't move. I'm allergic to kisses now. Stay away from me. The temperature of the face is rising, and I know that without looking in the mirror. The face must be red. Adam sweet smiled and hugged me back again. No wonder my baby is so resistant, blushing like this. It seems that the allergy is serious. I didn't expect Adam sweet to be so good that he would blush for a long time every time. He touched my head, buried it in my neck, sucked it gently, and suddenly said sullenly, "It's not because you want to sleep in a separate room with me at night. Alas, now you just want to kiss. And you can only kiss. Adam sweet, I just want to kiss." He spoke to me in a soft voice, as if I'm afraid I'll be angry. Dog man, it's all up to me now. If it weren't for the nail scratches on the back of his neck, I think it was all my fault. It's not because you're not temperate at all. Blame me. Then I won't sleep in the guest room tonight. Okay, it's been many days. It's only been 3 days. This routine has been done many times. And he has this face. And every time I am fooled. This time I'm going to keep my eyes peeled and reject this man fiercely. I disagree. Seeing that he was buried in my neck for a long time and didn't move, I wanted to see it. Suddenly, he picked me up and walked to the bedroom. Adam sweet, you bastard, perverted, shameless. He put me on the bed, grabbed my kicking ankles, and pulled me all under his arms. He laughed, a little bastard. Since you say so, that's all I can do. The dim light sprinkled on the pavement like a spotlight. The breeze blows and falls the sycamore leaves on the pavement. The sound of vehicle horns lingering in my ears. I walked slowly down the road, and Adam sweet still didn't come to pick me up after work today because it was his 5th day on a business trip. The phone message sounds. Off work. I swiped my fingertips across the screen and replied, "Well, on the way home." Then the other party made a direct phone call. "Did you miss me?" As soon as the call was answered, he hit a straight ball. Even after listening to the sound many times, I still think it sounds so good, especially now. "You're an idiot," I pouted. "It's almost a week since we see each other. I don't want you to blame." I bit my lip, and I couldn't hide the smile on my face. "Well, I miss you too." He chuckled, and I wanted to hide in his arms across the screen. There was a breeze again, and it was a little cold, so I gently wrapped my coat. Immediately after that, the phone was hung up. There was a sudden warmth in his back, and he opened his coat and hugged me from behind. Smelling the familiar scent, I was stunned. Excitedly, he turned around and drilled into him, his face against his neckline. So relieved. Why did you come back?" I looked up at him, rubbed against him again, and hugged him tightly. "I really miss him. I think of the explosion." He looked at me earnestly, the corners of his mouth raised. "And Peggy, I've made enough money." I was a little puzzled, and my heart couldn't stop beating fast. "What?" He dropped a kiss on my forehead. "I mean, it's time to get married. My favorite thing is Adam sweet to help me dry my hair. After taking a shower, my hair has not dried, and the fog in the bathroom has not yet dissipated. The first thing he did was to come in and pick up a hair dryer to help me dry my hair. It was itchy and very comfortable. His phone is sitting next to the sink, and the screen is not turned off, and the screensaver is us looking at each other, and I am still holding an apple in my hand. "And Peggy, I'm guessing your desktop should be." I should have been kissing him on the cheek. I pressed my thumb on the unlock button, and the screen lit up, and sure enough, I held up the apple and dropped a kiss on his cheek. Seeing me smile silly, Adam sweet rubbed my hair and smiled dotingly. I always like to lean on his shoulder and move around, and my hands don't honestly touch his Adam's apple. He was in a good mood, and would helplessly carry me to the sink. "Good girl, let me dry your hair, and touch it as much as I like later. Today is Poppy Sweet's 5th birthday." She ate her cake and then sullen. After a while, he ran up to me with tears in his eyes. She stretched out her little hand to wipe her tears, and in her other hand she held a paper rose. The rose was folded a little crookedly, and I could tell at a glance that it was the little one. I rubbed her little head and asked patiently, "What's wrong, my dear?" She looked at Xiaohua intently, and her fleshy little face was a little red. "Mom, this is the little flower that Dad taught me to fold." I held the little guy in my arms and laughed softly. "Poppy Sweet's mother loves it very much. But why does Poppy Sweet cry?" Poppy Sweet pouts and suddenly cries even harder. Daddy said, "Today is my birthday, the day I was born. My mother was very hard, so I'm going to be doubly good to my mom." I felt a warmth in my heart. Adam Sweet loves me and is a father who loves his children, now and in the future. And Peggy, Adam Sweet, we will always love each other. The end.